At number 40, it's Black Sabbath, Paranoid. The debut album Black Sabbath in 1970, of course, had the track Black Sabbath, which was the beginning of heavy metal, but it was a bit bluesy on a whole, that album. With Paranoid, which came out later the same year, they really did have an album's worth of heavy metal, and thus it's the first full heavy metal album, possibly. Yes, Black Sabbath's Paranoid. I like it. It's not as much, perhaps, as some other Sabbath albums. A couple of, three Sabbath albums that are higher on this list than Black Sabbath's Paranoid. It's one of those albums which is such a classic in the metal genre, and yet, for some reason, I don't like it as much as other people seem to. But I do like it. Obviously, War Pigs and Paranoid and Iron Man are complete classics, and I love them. I do like a lot of the rest of the album as well. Electric Funeral, Fairies Wear Boots, the lovely, gorgeous Planet Caravan, which is a mellow tune. For the most part, it's quite a gloomy album. I nearly said doomy, because of course Black Sabbath did inspire the whole doom metal subgenre. It's quite a gloomy album, full of apocalyptic kind of post-war, kind of post-fallout, post-nuclear fallout kind of stuff in the lyrics, and it's crushingly heavy, especially for its time. And yeah, it's a classic album. All metal fans should own it, or at least hear it. And yeah, it's one of the big classic must-have albums of Black Sabbath. The other one being Master of Reality, which is higher up on the list. But yes, number 39, Korn by Korn. Yes, the debut album from Korn in 1994. The beginning of nu metal. Korn pretty much started nu metal, which was, you know, there'd been a lot of alternative metal before, expanding the palette of heavy metal to include other types of music. Nu metal was where it sort of developed a formula of sorts, and Korn really was the beginning of the nu metal movement. And this debut album, it's their best album. Without a doubt, I think it's their best album. And it's full of angsty, tortured songs about various subject matters, such as I feel that there's a lot of sexual frustration and sexual dysfunction in many of the songs, such as Need To. There's a song on here called Faggot, which is not as homophobic as it sounds, because it's actually about being bullied for being gay when you're not actually gay, and all the confusion and stress that causes. And it's an outpouring of frustration and rage towards bullies, basically, and confusion about sexuality, I suppose, as well. But it's not actually homophobic. It's about homophobic people. There's some great tracks in here with some great riffs, like Bull Tongue, which is a favourite of mine. I like Helmet in the Bush a lot as well. And then of course there's the last track on the album, which is utterly devastating in its emotional impact, about child sexual abuse, and really raw and really painful to listen to, really, but amazing as well. And yeah, there's something of they're special amongst nu metal artists, along with Slipknot, who may or may not be nu metal. Korn are really a band within the nu metal genre that they're better than a lot of the others, and they really have a raw, tortured kind of feel. So it's a good thing for metal fans to like, even if, you know, purists might not like it. It's not as cheesy and trashy as a lot of nu metal is. It's very heavy. It's very tortured, as I said. Very raw, and it's brilliant, this album. Number 38 is Stained Class by Judas Priest. Another classic in the metal genre. It's a big album of theirs in the 70s. 1978 it came out. I don't. The albums that preceded it, although like Sad Wings of Destiny and Sin After Sin, although a lot of Judas Priest fans really like those albums as well, I don't so much. I don't find. Yes, I get it that there are moments on those albums which were like the beginning of heavy metal, in a more in its post Black Sabbath phase. But I find they're a little bit all over the place in what's going on. With Judas Priest Stained Class, I feel it's kind of, it feels more cohesive, I suppose. It feels like all the songs are in a similar kind of style, and they're really, so it really works as an album for me more than those previous albums do. And it's just before they actually changed their style slightly and made it more commercially accessible, or more like stripped down and streamlined and anthemic. Before they did that, when they still had that progressive feel, that kind of the 70s Judas Priest sound. But it's the best of their 70s output for me. And I mean, it's great. Exciter, the opener is great. White Heat, Red Hot, Better By You, Better Than Me. It's just great song after great song on here. Saints in Hell is a favourite of mine, as is Savage. And of course Beyond the Realms of Death is a classic, epic kind of ballad type track that everyone likes. Yeah, Stained Class, Judas Priest. It is one of the essential Judas Priest albums to own. Number 37 is Dope Throne by Electric Wizard. Yes, this is the Electric Wizard album I like the most. I already said about Come My Fanatics and how I love I love Electric Wizard's kind of doom sound. It's even more apparent on Dope Throne. It's just the soundtrack to kind of self-destructive apocalyptic misery somehow. The track Funeralopolis in particular I like on Dope Throne. It's a track which I've actually poured out some of my, when I've been feeling very dysphoric about my gender. Funeralopolis is a song which I've used to express and release those feelings of nihilism and depression. It seems to me like a track which, when you're kind of suicidal and depressed and you want to just get wasted on alcohol and drugs, it seems like the soundtrack to that. And it's an amazing track, Funeralopolis. It's just very raw, very intense, awesome. With all those lyrics about no reason to live, dead in the womb, life has no meaning, my feelings are numb. There's a line about to black out the sun. It goes completely mental towards the end with the whole kind of nuclear warhead ready to strike, the world is so fucked, let's end it tonight. It's an amazing song to listen to when you're feeling really depressed and frustrated with your life, and I love it. There's some lovely psychedelic freak out moments, like the track Weird Tales. There's a song on there called Barbarian, which I love. It's about Conan the Barbarian, but it's got that line, you think you're civilized but you will never understand, which repeats over and over again, but it's a great line. And yeah, I love the album Dope Throne, and I love Electric Wizard, and that album is a lot of the reason why. Number 36, Sepultura, Arise. Yes, Sepultura, Brazilian thrash metal band. This is the only album of theirs on this list because it's the only album I've ever owned in entirety. I know a lot of the tracks off Beneath the Remains and off Chaos AD and stuff, but Arise is the album. Arise is the album that introduced me to the band, and it's the album I have by them still. I had it on cassette in the old days, I've now got it on CD. And it's a classic, wonderful album, and I love it. I particularly like tracks like Desperate Cry and Altered State, but it's all great. But yeah, Desperate Cry and Altered State really demonstrate, for me personally, demonstrate just how good Sepultura can be. they're awesome tracks. Just the musicianship is tremendous. The dynamics in those tracks are amazing, and it really takes you on an intense and satisfying journey. Both of those tracks, but the whole album is good, to be honest. Sepultura were like a favourite of mine in my teens, and this when I return to them and listen to them again, I see exactly why. I hear exactly why. Because it's amazing. It's very accomplished, very heavy and intense thrash metal. Sepultura's thrash metal always felt like it was sort of a little bit on the edge of death metal as well. Certainly the very intense and heavy end of thrash. And love it, this album. 1991 it came out. Just when thrash metal was starting to move towards being more mainstream and less thrashy, thanks to things like the Black Album by Metallica and stuff, and Megadeth's Countdown to Extinction. A lot of the big thrash bands were trying to make their sound more mainstream and more accessible. But Sepultura was still doing intense, heavy, thrashy stuff, but very accomplished musically, with a range of dynamics and intelligent, socially conscious lyrics, and they're great. And this, for me, is the album that demonstrates why they're so great.